What I want to do today is go through how to put your program in and simulate it on the controller. Okay, so if you want to come up here, you can. If you want to stay where you're at, just watch. That's fine too. Tell me what we went through last time. How do I start the mill up? We're going to make this a mill because this is a mill part. Push the big green button. Okay, thank you. Then what?
Come up.
Then what? Okay, this is going to look a little bit different than either one of the mills that we have out there, but it's pretty much the same. All right, comes up and says something like this: servos are off, and we need to start the servos. So what do we do first?
Cancel.
Could.
This isn't connected.
It's not what we need to do, but we could do that. What do we need to do next? Rephrase. Okay, let me give you a clue. It's not going to let you do anything unless you do something with the door. Turn the door, hold override on. How do you turn the door, hold override on? Okay, it's a setting. So after we push the green button, turn it on, it comes up. Go to setting graph, type 51, push cursor down, and it goes and finds setting 51. Okay, push cursor over, it goes from off to on and blinks. Press right enter, it actually enters it in. So now the door hold override is on. Okay, after that, this button right here that says power up restart right next to reset sends the machine home. And you can actually see the X, Y, Z axis moving. It starts on Z, goes up, moves over on X, and then moves out on Y. Okay, when that's all finished, we are ready to put a program in. So you will take your USB, so just put it in the USB port right there. And what we're going to do after that is go to Edit, F1, move over to I/O, which stands for Input Output. I always go up because it gets the disk directory 3-button presses quicker. And we go to Disk Directory and push Enter. No, that's not right. Okay, that's what you would do out on the mill because it's going to be looking for a floppy drive. We have to do something different here, which will actually match the lathe. So keep what I told you, but it's not going to work on this one. So I have to go back here to List Programs right here, and there's a green box that's around this side of the controller. But you go down on your USB, so go to List Programs. After you've selected USB, it'll give you a list of all the programs. So I've got just some gibberish on this. I'm going to have to get rid of it somehow. Select your program, so you'll have to have it saved as an ASCII 2 file or a text file. So don't just think it'll load a Word file or WordPerfect file. If you have it written in a notepad, it will. And then you just push right enter, and it actually selects it right here. It says source USB and then gives the program number. And then you would come back over, up to memory, over and push F2. And it'll load the program from your USB onto the memory here. So let's go back through that again really fast. Okay? So list program. Make sure that the green little, can you even see that little green border around there? Make sure that it is over on this side so that you can arrow down to USB device. You can't really see anything because you have to arrow back over to get to the files that are on your USB. So then you can go down to your file that you want to load. I got to stay out of that mess right there. And push right enter to select it. And then it'll come up right here and say source and USB, and then have the part number or your program number. Go back over with the green box, so you just push the cursor back and forth to get the box. Can you see it moving? Maybe. Anyway, it has to be over here, and then you want to go up here to the memory and then move back over to the file, and F2 just moves it from the USB over to the memory on the hard drive. So if you have a small, short, less than, I don't even know what they are, 16 megs or something, I don't know. You can put it on the hard drive. This will hold quite a few programs. Right now we've got 17% free. We can get rid of all these here in just a second. Okay, so once you have your program on here, then what you want to do is simulate it. So I'm going to come back to this one, and if you don't have time to simulate it, you can just, once it's on the hard drive, it's on the hard drive, and you can just come back and do whatever you need to later. But to select it, just go down and either push right here, select program, or right enter, and it'll put a little asterisk right beside the program that's active. So we've loaded it on the hard drive, and everybody has button by button instructions for that, right? You'll need them. Okay, and then once it's on here, we're going to go to Edit, and you can look at your whole program. You can page up, page down. You can edit your program. You can have it search for letters, commands of almost any kind. There's a bunch of different things you can do. We're not going to worry too much about that right now. We're going to go to Memory, which is right here below Edit, and then Setting Graph twice. The second time it brings up all this graphic stuff we're going to be looking at. F3 will show you where you're at compared to XY0. F4 will read through the program as it's running. And once you're in the memory settings graph mode, even out on the machines out here, it'll just simulate. It won't actually go cut anything. So you can simulate your program, whatever your program is going to be doing, while it's cutting. So this particular one looks like somebody's assignment from last semester. I just grabbed one. I don't remember where it came from. So this one's a lot of programming that you won't be doing by hand. There's probably, well, we'll just go see. Let's go to Edit and End, and oh, can't tell from this. I'm going to go to Edit, F1, and come over here to Modify, and I'm going to renumber all the lines, starting with line number 1, and do 1 line increments. So there's at least 3,213 lines. Yeah, that's all there are. But this goes up to 10,000 lines, and then it starts over again. So if you have more than 10,000 lines, you'll have 10,000 and then 1, and then up to 10,000 again. So there could be a lot of programmed numbers in there for line numbers. We didn't talk about line numbers before when I had you write your programs, but each line number could have a line number beside it, which is what those N values would be. N is just a line number, and you don't have to have them to run your programs, so I didn't have you put them in. How many of you put them in anyway? How many of them were in the example in the book? They only had one, didn't they? Thought it had like 1 line number, 1 N1 or something like that. N2. Okay. All right. Who has their program ready to load up? Anybody? Have your program saved on a disk or a USB? Do you want to be the example D? Yeah, just plug it in. That was the easy part. Okay, now what does he do? What button does Conley push to find his USB device? Actually, that's to find the floppy drive. The USB device is going to be right here. Step over to the side and show him, because he's already found it. Go ahead.
You press list program right here.
It's just prog list,
Yeah.
P-R-O-G,
Yeah.
is list program.
And then I went over to the left and down to my USB device, and then over to there, and then I press enter.
Yeah, doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Actually, it does. What it does is it brings your program number right here. Now, Conley's got a problem with his program name. I don't know if it'll read this or not, but your program name has to be, or should be at least, your program number. So if your program is 00060 or something like that, that's what you have to save your program as. Let's try it though. It might work, it might not. It may ruin the, and then just push. Okay, so what he did here is he went up to memory, and it brought up the, on the right hand side it brought up the programs that are already in the memory, but he's not there yet. He's got to move over to that, and then
F2.
press F2. Okay, what does it say?
It says
Unknown code.
unknown code. So is
But is your program in there? Is that you?
I think, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so it actually read it, but he's got some unknown codes. Holy cow. What do you see there?
I don't know.
Everybody come up over here for just a second. Let's critique Conley's program.
Oh, great.
Oh, good, he says. Yay for me.
No line numbers.
No line numbers? Okay, that's not his biggest problem. What do you see lots and lots of?
Alarm.
Zeros.
Lots of zeros. Okay, here's what happens. Now, it's going to try and interpret what you've written for a code. Okay? And where do you use the letter O? This is one of the most common problems that we have.
Of every number.
At the beginning of every program. And if you just put a letter O in, it thinks, okay, here's a new program. I'm just going to put zeros behind it. And so all of Conley's letter O's now have 5 zeros behind them. So when you're typing in your program, remember it's M06, T01, G01.
Zero. Oh, wow.
You did.
Okay.
And that's what it'll do.
They're too close together on the keyboard.
They are. And I'm just showing you what happened with his, because this is something that'll happen to you too, probably. If it doesn't, you haven't written enough programs, because they're too close together.
They're too close on the keyboard.
Okay, he has an unknown code though, so somewhere in here there's going to be a question mark, and there's one right here, and you've got O. And I think all it is all of your letter O's need to be changed to zeros. So let's try this. We're going to have Conley go in and edit all of his O's and make them zeros, and then we'll load it again real fast. It'll only take a second. How would you do that?
Fine.
You're on your own. Okay, here's one nice thing. We're going to load the same program, okay? So instead of going back to USB and putting it in the source again, you can just press F2 and it'll reload it.
So right now, just press F2.
Yeah. What did it say?
Override, yes, no, whatever.
Do you want to override it, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yes is Y, no is N. So you still have an alarm. Push reset. And, okay, now just go to memory. That's just right here. Stay there and just push memory. MEM is memory. So all of your stuff is in there now, and it actually looks like pretty much what you had on your. Okay, now these are big. These are very big moves. We only have. We have 15 inches of travel on X and 30 inches of travel on. No, 15 inches of travel on Y and 30 inches of travel on X. So he's at 16 inches on X, 21 inches on X. So this may be kind of big for it. We may end up hitting limit switches.
There were that many squares on my graph paper.
And that's fine. So let's just see what happens when we try and simulate this one. Yeah, X over travel, which means that our X positioning is probably not in the right spot for this particular program. And it'll be different out here on the machines. We're going to be able to find where the part's at a little bit easier. I don't want to go back and change all of these, because then when our parts are small enough to fit on the controller, we'd have to relocate it.